August meeting of the Falls Township Planning Commission to order, and we can all rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, call the roll, please.
Brian Binney.
Here.
Mary Leschuk here. Edward Crow. John Haney.
Here.
Colin Henderson.
Here. All right, great. We have a quorum. First item on our agenda is preliminary final land development application, Levittown Car Wash LLC, 8601 New Falls Road. Tax parcel 13-018-003-004. Zone neighborhood commercial. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Augusta O'Neill. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight is Kristen Holmes, our engineer. As you indicated, the property that we're here tonight about is 8601 New Falls Road. For anyone who isn't familiar with the property, this is the car wash. It is located at the intersection of New Falls Road and Hood Boulevard in the township. Adjacent to the property is a Dunkin' Donuts. There is a Reader's Water Ice to the east, and Pennsbury High School is behind the property to the north. Currently on the property is an existing non-conforming gas station and car wash with a convenience store. The property is zoned NC for the neighborhood commercial district. We did receive approval for several variances in connection with our application just to increase the size of the car wash and then reduce the size of the convenience store that's currently existing at the property. With me tonight, as I indicated, is Kristen Holmes. We did receive some letters of review from the township's engineer, and we're just going to go over and indicate all the issues that we are going to be complying with.
Good evening. So to go through the review letters in there, we did receive the packet and the review from Jones Engineering. There are a few zoning related items noted in the letter. All of those.
Before we do that, can, I guess your applicant's with you. Can he explain how this car wash is going to function, how these 3 lanes are going to function, how many cars are going to be in this car wash at any given time? Is there somebody?
Sure. If it helps, I could share my screen to show an image of the plan.
That'd be fine, thank you.
So if everyone can see my screen, on here is a proposed site rendering of the project. As was noted, it is the northwest corner of Hood Boulevard, which is on the left view of the plan here, and New Falls Road, which sits on the lower view adjacent to the property. So the buildings are shown in brown on the plan. They are existing buildings. The building to the rear is currently the existing car wash facility, which is being used for the gas station use. And this longer building here is the convenience store with canopy for the gas tanks and the fuel station that currently exist. Those buildings will be essentially maintained, added upon, renovated for the purpose of this car wash facility. The car wash building itself will be extended in length, both in front and rear along the length of the building, to allow for modern day car wash technologies as necessary for the use. And the convenience store will actually be just used as an accessory office for the employees, for employees only to operate in and use the facility. The canopy for that building will remain, and that will essentially be some covered vacuum spaces for the use. And within this same area, as I note, and I'll go through the circulation in a second, but this area is all additional vacuum spaces for the car wash users to be able to use after they've gone through the car wash itself. The property today contains 4 driveways. So there's actually 2 driveways that exist on New Falls Road and 2 driveways that exist on Hood Boulevard. This project proposes to close the 2 driveways closest to the intersection. So this driveway, if you can see my cursor on Hood Boulevard, is being closed, and the driveway closest to the intersection on New Falls Road also being closed. The project will be essentially sort of a one-way circulation throughout the property. It will be an entrance-only driveway on New Falls Road that will maintain 3 car lane widths for the car wash, queue, and stacking to get into the facility itself. So that entrance in New Falls Road will contain the stacking straight back to the point where there will be kiosks for the car wash facility for those to be able to pay and enter, and then stack in a single line into the car wash building itself. There is a bypass lane prior to getting into the car wash if someone chooses to not enter the car wash, to be able to exit without going through the building. And that would circulate around the car wash building and out to Hood Boulevard. As you go through the car wash building, it is a drive-through car wash. So as you come through that building, you have the opportunity to either turn back into the site and access the vacuums that are in this central area here, which then you'd be able to go back to that and exit out Hood Boulevard. So Hood Boulevard will be an exit only for the purpose of the operation, and New Falls will be an entrance only.
So if somebody wanted to just come in and use the vacuum, they couldn't?
Correct.
Or they'd have to wait in line to go through the stacking lane and then try and get to the bypass lane somehow?
Correct. So they'd have to go through the car wash, through the kiosks prior to being able to access the vacuums. And that's intended to be, because it is a car wash facility, they are not paid vacuums. So they are essentially a benefit, a free benefit to those using the car wash itself.
So where the existing canopy is, currently that's gas pumps, so you can drive through. Is that ability going to be there to drive through those gas pumps?
There will be a barrier here at the ground that will prevent people from being able to go through the vacuum into the stacking lanes. So the only access to those stacking lanes will be via New Falls Road.
Now, earlier in your presentation, you said that the existing convenience store was going to be used by employees only, but in your plan it says it's going to remain as a convenience store. So is it a convenience store or is it not?
It is not. So we will be changing the label of that, the wording of that on the plan revisions. That is just intended as an accessory office space for the employees.
So if somebody by accident, like they go into the car wash and they realize that they left their money at home, they would have to wait in the stacking line in order to exit out, in order to go, they would have to go through that whole process. You have no means of egress for any other reason than you have to actually go through all that?
Correct. With this layout, everything would be coming through into the facility. They would have to be in those stacking lanes to be able to bypass and not go through the facility itself.
So if you pulled up to the kiosk and you purchased your car wash, is it then a free-for-all to get who's first, or is there something automated there that says lane 1 go, lane 2 go, lane 3 go?
Yes, so that would be partially automated in regards to how the gates would open for each of those kiosks, and there are also employees that will be standing at the front of the car wash entrance to help guide those patrons that are in the stacking lanes.
So this isn't going to be 24/7. This will have hours of operation where they're open and then not accessible during off times.
Correct.
So what Mary was saying, so if you go in there and realize you don't have your money, so is there an option to open because you said there was going to be a gate there or an arm, is there an option to open that so you can go through the bypass?
Yes, so there'll be a button on the kiosk that they press that'll reach out to somebody that, hey, somebody needs help. We'll come out to them. They'll say, hey, we forgot our money. We'll just lift the gate up. They'll go around and they'll enter that little side lane and they can exit.
How fast would it take somebody to get through that? So they forgot their money, was it going to take them like let's say that you've got, 6 cars ahead of you. You would have to wait, 20 minutes more?
It'll be significantly faster. So it takes us about I'll say a minute and 20 seconds to wash a car, and we could fit about 5 cars inside the building, plus the stacking that we have before it goes in, and then the kiosk stacking as well. Comparing it to my other operations, if we have our maximum at our other one, I'll say if there's 19 cars or 18 cars on the lot, from that 18th car, it'll take you 20 minutes to literally get out of my wash. Meaning you'll be in, washed, and ready to go. Whether you want to vacuum or you want to leave would be up to you.
So do you have another facility in Falls Township?
No, I have one up the road on Bristol Oxer Valley Road and New Falls Road, so like 3 miles from here.
So there's other car washes in town, and I constantly see those cars backed out into the highway. I see one right up here on Route 1 by the Dunkin' Donuts, constantly backed out. They have 2 automated car washes. They probably have stacking lanes for about 15 cars, and I constantly see them backed out into the highway. I go down to Trenton Road where the Red Rhino is, constantly see them backed out into the highway. I'm very concerned that that's going to happen here. And if they back out into the highway, they're going to back out into the driveway for the Dunkin' Donuts and the Rita's.
Yeah, so those 2 washes, I think you're talking about the one by like the old Pathmark, right? And then you're talking about the one on Trenton Road, correct?
Yes.
So they're both touchless washes, so they can only wash 1 car at a time, 1 garage at a time. It's not actively moving. In my scenario, when you pull in, you pay, you're automatically basically next in line, right? And you're waiting, your queue time is cut, I'll say like by literally 100%, if not more, just because it's an express wash versus a touchless that you have to stand in one place. The cars are always moving at our sites. Like we have the ability through the tunnel to do probably 140 cars an hour if we want, and that's getting them in and getting them out if we choose to.
Are you gonna
Go ahead, John.
limit the egress out and the exit to a right turn only? I think if you have a left turn there, that's gonna cause major issues.
So I'll say, so we've been coordinating with PennDOT since both of these roads are PennDOT roads as well to get their feedback in regards to the driveways. And they have requested a left turn restriction out of the Hood Boulevard exit during peak hours. So it would be left turns based on their feedback would be permitted during off-peak hours and would not be permitted during peak hours. And I would note too, the general peak hours of the car wash facility are different than peak hours of a typical workday. So when we're looking at peak hours in regards to general traffic, we're looking at morning and afternoon. Whereas with the car wash facility, the peak hours during weekdays are typically between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So more so during the lunch hour.
So with that is right by Pennsbury High School. The right and left turns are limited in those intersections during that time frame. So I would truly hope that we're only going right. Even in off-peak hours there, with that turning lane to go right and the entrance in the Burger King, going left there is going to cause major issues.
Understood.
Any other questions from the board? If you'd like to go through the letter now, Ms. Holmes, that'd be fine.
Sure. And I'll go through it pretty quickly, I believe. The zoning ordinance related items, everything within those are a will comply item. Those are some notes and details to add to the plan. So everything on pages 1, 2, 3 are all will comply. Subdivision and land development ordinance. Sorry. Again, everything within this entire section in the letter would be a will comply, with the exception of the waivers being requested. And I will just go through in order of the review letter where the waivers are noted in here. So on all of page 4, where a will comply with all of the comments. On page 5, section 36D, this would be a waiver request to allow less than 12 feet from the property line for the proposed driveway and less than a 20-foot radius along here. There is an existing nonconformity on the driveway on the side yard property, which we are proposing a 3-foot setback along this driveway. The second section noted on this page, section 37B, this is a waiver that has been requested, again, which Joe's office mentioned, no objection to the waiver request, but we are requesting to allow less than the required 15 feet from parking facilities and the office building, as well as the 5 vacuum spaces that are shown within that 15 feet. The last comment on this page is a will comply in regards to dimensioning. On page 6, everything within here will comply. Page 7, the second comment for section 44D is a waiver request, and we would agree to the request for the temporary construction items for that waiver. At the bottom of the page, section 48A is another waiver request in regards to street trees along all of the streets. And again, this is an existing developed property along both of these streets, and being a heavily trafficked intersection, we would just want to make sure we maintain site distances and clearances as required for the intersection. Page 8 of the letter, all of those will comply with the exception of section 62B being a waiver request to not widen New Falls Road and Hood Boulevard. Both of those roads are a very wide cartway, which I do believe complies with the requirements of the township, and they are both state-owned roads. Page 9 will comply. Page 10, section 78C2 is a waiver request from providing the overlap of 200 feet in surveyed information. Noted no objection to this request by Joe's office. Section 78C5, also a waiver request with no objection noted to those in regards to vertical datum of survey information.
I don't understand in today's world why we have this waiver.
Yeah, in regards to, this is based on the survey that we have to date. In the datum that we have, we will provide the note stating the offset into NAVD 88. The rest of that page will comply. And then last page, I believe page 11, the first comment, section 13B, we would be removing that waiver per Joe's notation. That is not applicable. We will be complying with the stormwater requirements for the site. And I would note that we are reducing impervious overall on the property. So we're providing a net reduction and not providing any increase. Rest of this page is a will comply, as well as the general comments noted on page 12 for outside agency approvals. Going through the rest of the packet in there, the next item noted in there is the zoning hearing decision from this application when we appeared before the zoning hearing board for the variance request. So that had been touched on, but it is a non-conforming property with non-conforming uses that we did request relief for expansion of the car wash facility, setbacks as it relates to those buildings, driveway width, and stacking lanes for the car wash. The next letter in the packet is Remington and Burnick engineers for the traffic engineering review. Their comments are found on page 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 comments, which are all a will comply. And then the last letter we've received is from the fire marshal, who had no comments. So again, just as a quick summary, everything noted in the letters would be no issue or will comply, other than the items we request as a waiver.
One question I have in regards to the fire department, if we're going to have those gates across, is there going to be an emergency release if there's an emergency situation, since you'll have 2 entrances into the building, and from the right side the gates are across and we need to get trucks in there? Is there going to be a way for the fire department in off hours going to be able to get through them with an emergency release through a Knox box key or something along those lines?
Imran, are you able to speak to that in regards to the kiosks? You're on mute. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. With physically getting through where the gate is, I think it would be impossible at night. We do lift the gates. So say they have a small vehicle or an SUV or something that needs to go through, they can go through, but say a fire truck or something, there's no shot they'll be able to fit through either of those 3 spots.
Okay, but they'll default up. That's kind of what I was getting at. Thank you.
Yeah, we always keep them up. We just, for safety reasons, God forbid somebody comes in, anything like that, we don't want them to knock it over. So we keep them straight up after we close.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Jones, you have anything?
2 points, Mr. Chairman. We will, with the authorization of the Planning Commission, correspond the Planning Commission's concerns for the turning movements with PennDOT. So at least they'll have the Planning Commission's impression of what should happen on Hood Boulevard with your approval. And we will also review the plan thoroughly with the fire marshal. And as in all of our letters, they're going to have to comply with whatever the fire marshal deems appropriate. So we'll mention what Ms. Holmes described and what, I'm sorry, Mr. Malik described. And so he'll weigh in on our next technical review.
Thank you. Ms. Holmes, did you say you received a variance for the width of the bypass lane?
For the width of the driveway at New Falls Road to actually be wider than permitted by your ordinance. So the zoning ordinance has a restriction on a maximum width of a driveway, and we were requested a variance to allow 44 feet, where 30 feet is maximum by code. So the 3-lane width with the stackings accounts for that wider width at the entrance at New Falls.
So based on, I'm looking at the radius of 10 and the radius of 20, I'm assuming that bypass lane is 10 feet wide. And I'm not sure how the stacking lane immediately closest to the existing canopy makes that turn.
We can provide a couple things. We can provide some circulation patterns for vehicles to show that. And we could also widen the radius at that turn to help alleviate some of that concern, to allow for some larger vehicles to be able to make that turn into the bypass lane.
Any other questions from the board?
No, I'm good.
Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. There's no other questions from the board, no other comments. I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, just the waivers. Got 12-page review letter. Put your mic, push the button.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Levittown Car Wash on 8601 New Falls Road, Levittown, PA 19054, tax map parcel number 13-018-033-004 zone NC. Now, the preliminary, approve the waiver request for the preliminary for section 191-36D, 191-37B, 191-44D, 191-48A, 191-62B, 191-78C2, 191-78C5, And,
That's it.
and that you will comply on every other section in the engineering letter. And that you will comply with everything with the engineer's letter. And that's my motion.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Haney. Poll the board, please.
Brian Benny,
No.
Mary Leschuk, no. John Haney,
Yes.
Colin Henderson,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is somewhere here. What'd I do with it? I lost the agenda. Oh, there it is. All right, next item on our agenda is First Ukrainian Evangelical Church, Baptist Church, 920 Trenton Road, Fairless Hills, tax parcel 13-016-344-001, and parcel 13-016-344-002. Preliminary final land development for Phase 1 Building Addition and Pavilion and Phase 2 Building Addition. You gentlemen like to come up to the microphone, introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Ian Ustenko. I'm a pastor of Ukrainian Baptist Church on Trenton Road. A little bit about us. We have over 250 members. Currently, we have many young families, many kids. So we have Sunday school, we have a teens ministry, we have a Awana club, we have different events for our members, for young and older members as well. As of right now, we have a nice size property. We have our sanctuary is what we need, and it's working for our needs, but we don't have enough classes and not enough room to hold all the events and everything that we have, all the ministries that we do for all the members of our church. So today we are here on behalf of the Phase 1 building project, which is an addition in the back of the building. So all the technical questions, I guess our architect can answer, and Stephen.
So is Phase 1 also the pavilion?
No,
No?
it's Phase 2.
Okay.
All right, so this is just for the building proposed on the back.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Jones, before we get involved in that, Mr. Jones, from a technical standpoint, do we typically approve 2 phases like this, or is that?
We can typically, and I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman, whether this is going to end up a waiver. So the complication would come in how much security, financial security they have to post. There aren't many improvements associated with Phase 1, so if the applicant wishes to construct Phase 1 and build Phase 2 in the future, getting approval on both would require them to post financial security for both. So we'll have to talk to them to find out, what their intentions are regarding that. But if it becomes deemed a waiver of land development, then that point would be moot. And we have in the past approved multiple phases at the meeting, correct?
All right, thank you. We may proceed.
Okay.
Hello. I'm not architect, I'm the land surveyor, I'm sorry. Michael Zaveska. We just got a mail yesterday from the township engineer, and we just did a quickly review the letter, and we will comply almost with everything, probably except the stormwater management, because we believe The zoning ordinance says if it's increased less than 5,000 square feet, we can be exempt from the stormwater management plan. Am I correct?
Well, you're proposing 2 additions that are 3,200 square feet by themselves.
Yeah, but we are removing a lot of concrete. It's existing now, it's a concrete pads. And we, technically the addition in the back, we gonna build on the existing impervious surface.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the pavilion, which is part of this approval, is also over a pervious surface. So I think between the building addition phase 2 and the pavilion, which is on the plan, would be over that exemption requirement.
I believe so too. I believe you when you say phase 1 is on existing impervious, but phase 2 looks like it's mostly not. I'll let you work those details out, but with Mr. Jones, but I don't think we're gonna request or support, at least I'm not gonna support a waiver of stormwater management. If it is technically exempt, then Mr. Jones can make that decision, but I'm personally not gonna vote in favor of stormwater
Okay.
management waiver.
Okay, and it's, should I go to each comment?
Just the ones that you want waivers.
We did not make a decision about the sidewalk yet. I think you agree to build a sidewalk, or we're not gonna build a sidewalk?
Regarding sidewalk, we can build a sidewalk. It's not a problem for us to build a sidewalk, but the question is that this sidewalk will go to the neighbor's property, and there is no way to continue it to the next street. So it's ended on our property, and if we build it, it will finish on our property and it's go to the backyard to the neighbor. So there is no way to build it to the Vermilion line way to connect this.
So there's a sidewalk at the shopping center, correct?
There's sidewalk on the shopping center, no sidewalk on our street.
Right.
We can build it, it's not a problem, but where it's go to?
If you build it, they will come.
Okay. We will just finish on the line of our property and,
Right, correct.
yeah, it's
But
go to the,
if you, in the bigger picture, if you go down to the intersection, there's sidewalks down there and there's crossings for streets. So at some point in time, it may be beneficial for the township to extend.
to connect it.
Connect the dots.
Okay,
So-
yeah, this way we can do it.
Yeah.
So then we don't request waiver, we will be there.
So just so you know, it's not just because we want sidewalks, it's because there's technically, when the shopping center was redeveloped, we had them put sidewalks in. And so hopefully we can connect the dots and everybody can cross the road safely. And they can walk to your church.
And the section 20942A. 20942A.
Do not see
I
that.
don't see that one.
It's on the second page.
The zoning,
Well,
no, I still don't see.
I've got page 1 and page 3.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have page 2. She's like, I got it. Nope. Looking through all the other papers.
1, 3,
Yeah, I got 1, 3,
5, 7, and 9.
Here we go. I am so sorry.
That's
Here we
all
go.
right.
Here's 2. That's what he's talking about now.
2,
That's a
2.
zoning.
Okay.
If you give me a minute, I'll be happy to copy the rest of this.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do
Okay.
that?
Yes, please.
Yes.
We're missing 3,
We've only got,
4, 6.
Joe was saving paper,
eight.
only gave us the odd pages. So, just so you're aware, that anything that is in the section 209 section is a zoning requirement. So we don't have the ability to waive zoning
Yeah.
requirements.
Okay.
So that, if you did want a waiver or variance for that particular situation, you would have to go to the zoning board and get them to waive it, because the supervisors aren't even able to waive that. You have to go to a different board. So-
It means 25 feet, not higher, right?
I'm sorry.
We're talking about the 5 feet. We're talking about the 5 feet from building to the driveway.
Ah, okay.
We don't have that page. Diane's making us copies of it, so as soon as she gets back, I'll look at it for you. But yeah, so anything that's in the zoning ordinance, we don't have the ability to waive.
Okay.
And I think if I can weigh in, for the benefit of the applicant, I think a plan revision can solve that problem, and it wouldn't be too, have too much of an impact to your development.
Joe, which comment does that pertain to? What area?
I'm gonna say that it's on the back building, the Phase 1 building addition. It's dimensioned at 32.8 feet, so we can stripe that out, have them stripe that out, and then on the turn-in to the left, so we can stripe out a section to keep the cars away from the building. And that may even be applicable to a residential driveway. So we'll double-check that, and if, you know, if it is in fact an issue, I think the applicant can provide that 5 feet without interrupting their buildings.
Excuse me. I'm assuming there's not a parking issue here, so if they needed to move that striping a little bit more, that would be acceptable.
Correct,
And then we could eliminate that need to go to zoning variance.
correct.
I believe we will comply with every comments in this letter. We'll comply with everything. Yeah.
Mr. Jones, you see any issues?
No, Mr. Chairman, we're gonna work with, the applicant surveyor through the stormwater management. It's not gonna be, you know, that big of a deal. So we think we can work through, the stormwater management with their current consultant. So we'll work with them and get their zoning issue resolved and get the stormwater management in check. So I don't see any issue.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Mr. Haney?
I'm good.
Colin, good?
Yeah, I'm good, sorry.
If there's no other comments or questions, is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. I'm starting to remember to ask. And as far as the Remington Vernick letter, you comply with that also? Did you see the traffic engineer's letter? I don't think there's anything crazy here. Here, if you'd like a copy of it. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the preliminary and final land development application, First Ukrainian Evangelical Baptist Church, 920 Trenton Road, TMP number 13-016-344-001, Zone NC. Everything will comply, so in accordance with the Jones Engineering Associates letter dated August 17th, 2021, and the Remington Vernick's engineers letter dated August 12th, 2021, and there are no waivers.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right, second by Mr. Haney. Poll the board, please.
Brian Benny,
Yes.
Mary Leschuk, yes. John Haney,
Yes.
Colin Henderson.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
All right, the last item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from July 27th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval. Or just to approve it.
All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Do I need to call the board?
Mr. Haney abstained while Mary was making a record with the microphone. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How's Canada, John?